Hello everybody. If you've been here before, you probably recognize this hairstyle as classic Jesse from Jesse's Barbershop. This is what I've been doing as kind of my go-to style for a while. And if you're interested in seeing my process on how to do this style, that's exactly what's gonna be happening in this video, but it's a bit of a twofer. Because even if you don't want this exact style, the process that I go through to achieve this on my hair is relevant to somebody who's trying to achieve movement or curls in their hair. Because naturally, as many of you guys know, I don't naturally have curly hair, but I also naturally don't have straight hair. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. It's incredibly coarse and incredibly frizzy and really, really hard to deal with. And that actually brings me to something I want to say before we get into the styling process of this video. And that is what you have to do to achieve curls depends on your hair type. It is entirely dependent on your hair type. The way that I would go about achieving curls may be completely different than the way that you should go about achieving curls. Depends. I got a comment on one of my recent videos where the guy said he purchased the product that I recommended and it did absolutely nothing for his hair. That kind of happens sometimes, and that's the idea, is you have to understand what your hair type is and what your hair needs in order to achieve something before you start going out and buying product. And that's kind of the idea behind these videos. Hopefully I'm able to shed that type of insight on that. So watch this video, and I hope you guys enjoy and can learn something from the process. But towards the end of the video, I'll link my video on my process for how to find your hair type, but we'll save that towards the end of the video. But I think what I'm gonna do now is just play for you the process of me styling my hair and just kind of add some key points or tips along the way so you guys can kind of see my thought process as to how this all works, because this is the system that works for getting curls in my hair. In terms of the product that I'll be using to achieve this, if you had seen my other curly hair video, you would have seen me use the Bumble & Bumble curl line, which is a staple for me. It's a classic, highly, highly recommend. Not for the guy that didn't like it, but in general, if you have the right hair type for it, it's an amazing product. But what I did was I went out today because I enjoyed the Orbe Royal Blowout, the $100 styling spray that I had bought was so nice that I went out and purchased an Orbe curl cream. Now, this one's a little bit less expensive. It came out to around $60 Canadian. Still relatively expensive, still super bougie, and still smells like old white grandmas. So guys, I'll take you through the process. Enjoy the video. I'll be back towards the end to kind of summarize things and hopefully answer some of the questions that you may have. Okay, voiceover Jesse here, and I've already got my hair shampooed and conditioned, so what we're gonna be doing is applying the Orbe curl cream. Now, this is definitely the thickest curl cream that I've ever used. Typically, I have to use a lot more product than the average person because I have a lot more hair, but this stuff spreads really, really well, and it seems to go a long way. So all I'm doing is just saturating from roots to end, just making sure that the entirety of my head is very well saturated. So as you can see here, I'm already kind of starting the process of scrunching the product into my hair, more just so I can kind of get a feel as to the effect it's having on my hair. And I think just because of the fact it's such a high quality, heavy curl cream, you're already starting to see the difference it's making. Now, obviously you guys have seen what the end product looks like, but as you can see here, I've kind of parted the hair down the middle just to show you guys that you can do this on both sides. It's just not necessarily the look I'm going for right now. The first thing I'm doing is I'm going to be separating my hair into two different sections. The side on my left is going to be where you're going to be seeing a lot of the curls, and I'm going to be scrunch drying that side, whereas on the right, I'm going for more of a looser wave. So obviously I'm going to approach that very differently. But the main focus is just getting the right side of my hair dry so I can use the technique I'm going to be using to make those looser waves. So the last product I'm going to be applying is just a wet hairspray just to the root of that right side, because I know I'm going to be needing a little bit more volume on that side. So I'm just going to finish the drying process to about 70 to 80% dry, just so it's a little bit easier for me to work with. And then we're going to be moving on to the first technique, which is a round brush. I have a full video on this if you guys want to check that out, but essentially what I'm doing is I'm drying my hair around the barrel of this round brush to maintain some of the movement that I would have with the curl cream. So as you can see there on the side, it's smooth, but it's still maintaining that waviness or that curl that I'm looking for. I just do that to the top of the exterior or the side of my head, and then now we're going to move on to the left side of my head, where we're going to be using a scrunch drying technique to lock in the curls. Here's what's happening when you're scrunch drying. Typically, when you're using a round brush or just a paddle brush, you're creating tension and kind of pulling out any natural movement that you would have to your hair. And obviously with this look, you want to keep as much of that in as possible. So that's what the scrunch drying technique does. Whether you have just slight natural waves or you've got a perm or something like that, this is typically what you would do in order to enhance or just smooth down those curls without removing any of the movement. Now, what you're going to see me doing for the rest of this hairstyle comes a lot from my experience as a hairstylist, but mostly because I'm familiar with the potential of the product and the styling techniques that I'm using. Because what I'm working on right now is that transitional phase between the softer waves and the heavier curls on the left side of my head. I know I want to maintain the movement, but I want to create direction to the hair that kind of sits over top and softens the look of the curls that I created with the scrunch drying technique. And because I know I have that movement locked in from the curl cream, I'm using this round brush technique to, rather than just pulling everything straight, meeting somewhere in the middle where it smooths everything down, but still maintains a lot of that movement to create that nice transition into the curls. And then it's just a matter of smoothing things out and placing the hair where I want it to get the finished look. Alright guys, so I hope you were able to pick up on a few things. A couple key points before we get into the details of actually how to style this is, like I said in the intro, how you go about styling your hair completely depends on what your hair needs in order to achieve that. And the only way that you can find out what that is by understanding your hair type. So I'll be including a card at the end of this video where you can click into that video and watch my process on how to figure out your hair type for yourself. But for now, in terms of getting curls in your hair using this technique, something I will clarify is this works very well for my hair type because I do have a little bit of natural movement to my hair. You don't need much. The only time that this kind of scrunch drying technique wouldn't work is if you have completely bone straight hair. Super silky, super fine, super straight. You're asking the product to do something that is just not possible to do with your hair. So with my hair, because I have that natural wave to it, when I put the curl cream, by the way, this stuff is crazy. Best curl cream I've ever used by far for this type of hairstyle. But what's happening is when I'm putting this curl cream in, it's enhancing the natural movement in a way that allows me to turn them into curls, because that's all curls are. It's just texture and movement to your strands of hair. And like I had said in my previous curly hair video, and actually you may have even seen in this one a little bit, in parts where I don't want as much curl, once the movement and the curl cream's locked in, you can actually kind of pull the hair out a little bit and start changing the strength of the curl pattern. You see how that kind of works? So depending on what you're trying to achieve in terms of curls should completely determine the approach that you're taking with product and style. But what I will say to summarize this is if you have a little bit of natural movement to your hair, it's probably achievable through product and a scrunch drying technique or a diffuser to be able to achieve a little bit more curliness and texture to your hair. It may not be this much, it may be more depending on your hair type. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I hope you guys learned something. And if you have, make sure you drop a like. And if you're interested in this kind of stuff, all types of men's hair tips, tricks, tutorials, all that kind of stuff, make sure you hit that subscribe button because that's what I do here on this channel. I'm excited to make more videos for you guys. So I hope you enjoyed blah, 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 and we'll hopefully see you in the next video. Hey guys, Jesse here. Thanks for watching. Of course, any and all support is appreciated, but if you're interested in joining the community and getting further and personal help with your hair, I have a Patreon link in the description down below, where for as little as $5 a month, you can get access to our own private Discord server that I'm in every single day to answer all of my patrons' questions, as well as receive early updates on the channel and future content, but most importantly, have an overwhelming sense of satisfaction, knowing that you are contributing to my dreams of selling out and moving to Texas to hang out with Joe Rogan. But at the very least, if you enjoyed the video and you want to see some more, consider hitting that subscribe button, drop a like, and we'll see you in the next one.